So for Detroit sports this week, the Waynes have a solid bounce-back week to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Tigers get right back to their winning ways after a tough series to open the year at LA. And the Pistons, their fate becomes much more crystal clear as we're getting ready to enter the final week of the NBA regular season. So let's take a look at how Detroit sports fared this week. So starting off with the Tigers got their week right off on the right foot up in Seattle as they won the first two games of this 3-game series against Seattle, getting their first wins of the season. And also with the Tigers winning the first 2 games of the series against Seattle, it means the Tigers also get their first series win of the season, as in the regular season. And of course, the Tigers, they would fail to sweep Seattle in the 3rd game as Seattle took the 3rd game. But honestly, at that point, it's like finding a $5 bill after the goddamn house burned down. Tigers still got 2 out of 3 to bounce back after a tough 3-game outing in LA against the Dodgers. But of course, then the Tigers would then turn, after opening the season on the road for the first 6 games, Tigers then finally turned their attention home for their home opener, their opening series against the Detroit White Sox. And of course, the White Sox have very fond memories of the last time they played the Tigers, considering the last time these two teams met in the regular season, it was when the Tigers clinched their spot in the playoffs last year. And that game against, and also last time those two teams played, that was also when the Tigers gave the White Sox their 121st loss of the season, which is a new MLB record. At least the 1962 expansion Mets had an excuse to be dog shit. The White Sox had no excuse. But in this series, though, the Tigers would pick right back up where they left off against the White Sox last year. Just completely dominating the series the first 2 games, scoring 7 runs in each game. Just absolute domination, especially with Spencer Torkelson really having a great start to the season. Finally living up to that bill of him being a first overall pick. And then the 3rd game, though, was the challenging one as the White Sox were trying to avoid the sweep. But in the end, at the bottom of the 9th, with the bases loaded, Spencer Torkelson would hit a base clearing double to end the game with 2 runners coming in, down 1. As Torkelson hit a walk-off winner to secure the sweep against the White Sox. Honestly, good for Torkelson. After pretty much being a disappointment his first couple years in the league, finally great to see him finally living up to expectations. Torkelson, take your Gatorade bath in pride. As with that sweep, the Tigers are now 5-4 on the season and now currently sit first in the AL Central. Very early in the season, so very tough to gauge. Like, you can't really properly gauge a baseball team until about 50 games into the season. But, 9 games in, a solid start. But, of course, as we all know in baseball, the season's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And we're barely getting started. Still a long ways to go in a 162-game season. But so far, Tigers bounce right back on the right foot. Not a bad week. As for the Red Wings, though, their week got off on the wrong foot, especially up in St. Louis. In St. Louis, a game where the Wings needed to win to keep their slim playoff hopes alive, the Wings responded to it in the first period by having only 3 shots on goal in the first period. The fact that it went to overtime after all that is a fucking amazement, which the Blues would end up winning in overtime to take the 2-1 win. But at least Detroit got a point out of it, I guess, to try and stay within the playoff race. But then after that, the Wings would then bounce back and get 2 straight wins to stay with a winning record. As the Wings got 2 wins against the Carolina Hurricanes and then beating the Florida Panthers at home. So the Wings get 2 wins to keep their slim playoff hopes alive as we're getting close to the end of the season. Only 2 weeks left in the NHL regular season. As, of course, that playoff race for the wild cards are starting to heat up. As, of course, right now as it stands, the Wings are now 6 points out of a wild card spot with 6 games to go. And those 6 points, that's effectively 3 games back. And the Wings still got a game in hand over Ottawa and Montreal. And oh, by the way, the Wings play Montreal next. So that Montreal game's going to be very crucial to decide if the Wings have a shot at the playoffs or not. Like, that Montreal game is a must-win game and very crucial if the Wings want to have any chance at making the playoffs this year. But, you know, Wayne State still got a shot to make it in, but they're going to need a lot of outside help to have any chance at making it in. As the playoff picture is starting to get cut down a bit, as they're starting to get a good idea of who's going to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs and who's going to be out and subjected to the draft lottery.
Detroit basketball!
And now to the Pistons, as of course the Pistons had quite a bit of a fallout with suspensions after a couple players had to take the NBA wheel of discipline. As Ron Holland got a 1-game suspension for his role in that brawl against Minnesota, while Isaiah Stewart got 2 games for his role in the brawl. And Isaiah Stewart didn't even instigate that whole damn thing, yet he gets more of a punishment. Like, that's fucking stupid. Like, once again, NBA being inconsistent again. The one shocking thing in the whole thing is that JB Bickerstaff, head coach, didn't even get ejected. Didn't get a suspension and all that, so he got to stay around. And of course, though, the Pistons, they struggled against Oklahoma City to open the week. I mean, not surprising. I mean, the Thunder are one of the top teams in the NBA. Like, unless the Thunder choke in the playoffs again, I think the Thunder are most likely going to be representing the Western Conference in the NBA Finals. Unless they rig it for LeBron and the Lakers again. Like, I would not be surprised if the NBA rigs the playoffs this year to have it be a Lakers versus Cavs Finals. It would not be surprising in the slightest. But on the other end, no, the Pistons, though, they would bounce back as, of course, for the game in Toronto, they would get Cade Cunningham finally back in the lineup. And that would be very crucial, especially getting Ron Holland back after he served his 1-game ban. And the Pistons would give belt to ass to the Raptors, officially ending with the Pistons beating the Raptors. It ended whatever hope the Raptors had at the playoffs, officially eliminating them for playoff contention. But the win against the Raptors comes big, because this belt to ass has a special meaning. Because with the Pistons win over the Raptors, it means the Pistons no longer have to worry about that silly play-in tournament anymore. Because the win against the Raptors guarantees that the Pistons will finish top 6 in the Eastern Conference. So the Pistons' a magical 1-year Cinderella run is going to continue on for a couple more weeks. Because with the win against the Raptors, the Pistons have officially clinched a spot in the playoffs this year for the NBA. Now listen, I did say that I would not play a playoff-bound graphic for the Pistons clinching a play-in spot. But I said I would play a graphic if the Pistons got a top 6 spot. And since the Pistons got the top 6 spot, I'm going to be a man of my word, and I'm going to give you the playoff-bound graphic in its entirety. But man, just crazy how much a difference 1 year can make when you have the right people calling the shots. From 14 wins last year and being an absolute embarrassment in the NBA, to winning 43 games now, overly tripling their win total from a year ago, and now being right in the thick of the playoff rate, and now being in the playoffs. So what a difference a year can make. Hey Red Wings, how come you can't do that after 6 years of the Yzer plan? Like with the Red Wings, though, at one point the excuses are going to run out. But back to the Pistons, though. The Pistons would then could take that momentum straight to Memphis and would lose a hard-fought game against John Moran and his obsession with playing with guns. Especially with the toy gun gesture. It's like, did this motherfucker really learn nothing from that 40-game suspension he had from playing with guns? Like, dear God, John Moran's a dumbass. Can't believe we lost to Memphis and his stupidity. But yeah, the Pistons end up losing to Memphis, and that loss to Memphis kills any hopes of the Pistons getting home court advantage throughout the playoffs or top 4 seed, since the Pacers have head-to-head tiebreaker over the Pistons. This week is now concluded, as now we're entering the final week of the NBA season. Only 4 games left. And of course, for the Eastern Conference, everything is set to go, including the play-in teams. It's now just a little bit of seeding left to decide who gets what and who faces who in the playoffs. But the way things are shaping up, the Pistons are either going to be playing Indiana in the first round, or they'll be playing the New York Knicks in the first round. As the Pistons, they're only a game behind Milwaukee for that 5th seed. And I should mention one more thing real quick. The Pistons and the Bucks play each other in a home-and-home series to end the regular season. And it's most likely that home-and-home against Milwaukee is going to decide who gets the 5th and 6th seed. And also the Pistons in their last 4 games played the Knicks too. And that game against the Knicks could potentially be a playoff preview for the first round, depending on which seed the Pistons end up being. But yeah, the picture is all set to go. It's seeding, well, except the Western Conference. The Western Conference is still undecided on who's in the playoffs and who's out. But the picture's starting to get more clear now as who will have a chance, who will be in the NBA playoffs. And like I'll just say this for the Pistons, it doesn't matter what seed you are, if you're in the dance, you have a chance. And the Pistons are in the dance, and they'll have a chance to win it all, to win a 4th title. But yeah, and I'll be honest with the Pistons this year, I think there's a very strong possibility they can win a playoff game, let alone I think they can win a playoff series under the right circumstances. But yeah, now 1 week left. Just 1 week left. We're in the final home stretch of the regular season. So yeah, and of course for everyone in the Western Conference, there's still one goal left for you left. Don't get eliminated. See you next week.
April in the D, April in the D. April in the D, April in the D. You got your Tigers, your Pistons, and your Red Wings, B. Everything you want right here in the D. Hardwood, ice, and so much grass. Slap shots, hits, gloves, and chest pass. April in the D, April in the D. April in the D. 3 teams, 3 leagues, 1 dream.